Technically, there I am. Okay. Good evening, entrepreneurs. Happy Sunday evening. My name is Joe DiChara. I am a business coach with a CPA license. And what I do is I try to help business owners understand what the heck is going on with their business, make it simple, and hopefully make it fun and profitable. And in tonight's segment of how to win a business, I'm going to cover exactly some of the steps that you need to take to create a money-making magnet. Okay, if you want to say that with me quickly, money-making magnet. Wouldn't it be nice if you went to your business every day, you woke up and things just seemed to run smoothly and money appeared, new customers appeared, your bills were getting paid on time, customers were paying you on time, and I'm describing a dream business. Okay, that is a dream business. And if you've been following me, you know that what I teach people is that business is tough. It is not easy. Okay, I thought it was easy the last semester before I graduated, and I leased an ice cream truck and I made money. And then about a year later, I got a letter from New York State saying that I was in trouble. It was a big red sticker and said tax warrant. And I'll never forget that, because at that moment, I realized that this was not going to be a piece of cake. But how is it that some people just seem to make money no matter what they do? You ever see those people and you feel like smacking them? They seem to have a golden touch that it doesn't matter if they're selling candy bars or if they're in the network marketing business or they have a gas station. There's just some people that have a knack for making money. And if you're one of those people, God bless you. I was not one of them. I am not one of them. I've learned the hard way. Some people I know that are just geared with the right mentality, the right attitude. They have all the right tools, and things just seem to come to them easily. Well, the truth is that nothing comes easily. On the outside, it might seem like it's coming to them easily, but if you know their real story, they have gone through all the trials and tribulations like every other business owner. Nobody is immune from the pain and the hardship and the trials and tribulations that we all have to go through. But yet, there are people that emerge and are able to break through and create profitable businesses in all different kinds of industries. I mean, if you look at Steve Jobs, there aren't many Steve Jobs, but not only did he tackle the computer industry, but he rewrote the music industry, the cell phone industry. How was that? Well, one thing, I could definitely recommend, there is a gentleman by the name of Simon Sinek, and I follow him, and he has a concept he calls start with why. And the reason why companies like Apple Computer always seem to excel in different industries. And he calls it, you start with why. And I'm a big fan of that. But that's not what I wanted to cover today, because there's, companies like Apple, Steve Jobs, they only come along once in a generation. People like Richard Branson, and I think he has like 400 different businesses, and I say probably most of them are successful. Not all of them, but he's got what I would call like that magic touch. And if you've been following me, you know that I follow a set of principles, and that's what those gentlemen do. That's what those people do. They have a set of principles that they apply in good times and bad times. It doesn't matter. And they succeed. And it's not easy. It's not easy. But let's talk about you and the small businessman, the plight of the small business owner. Because it is a plight. And based on my experience and my studies of both business failures and business successes, I would say that more than 98% of new businesses fail. They go out of business. And forget about all of the statistics that you hear, that you see from the Small Business Administration, and all of the reasons that you hear why businesses fail. Because those numbers, those statistics, and those excuses for business failures do not really apply to new small business owners. And I'm talking about the 25 million sole proprietors that are out there that are still unincorporated business entities. And even if you're an LLC, you are still treated as a sole proprietor. So between the 25 million actual sole proprietors and a couple of million LLC and corporations that are, like myself, solopreneurs. In other words, we don't employ anybody other than ourselves. So where does the 98% come from? It's a revolving door. It's a revolving door, because the statistics that you see that the government puts out there, they really have to do with the businesses that have already run the gauntlet, the business gauntlet, I call it. And they've reached the point where, once you get past, the 5-year mark, your chances of staying in business go up dramatically. So the numbers are skewed because they take this 30 million businesses out there, and they'll take the whole lot and they'll apply their statistics. But it doesn't work like that, because for the largest companies, the companies that have 500 or more employees, because that's what the Small Business Administration considers not small anymore. You're still small if you have 499 employees or less. That's insane. So they're lumping all of these businesses together with us. So that's why I say you could take all of those numbers and throw them out. And the truth is that the people that are failing are the people that are at the lower end of the spectrum, the new businesses, the businesses that haven't been around for 5 years, the businesses that don't even get to the point where they hire another person besides themselves. Okay? Only a small percentage of businesses, think about this, 98%, over 90% of the 30 million businesses have either themselves as the employee or no employees, they're sole proprietors. That's 90% of all the businesses are micro businesses. And that's who I'm talking to. So if you're one of those businesses, I would suggest that you listen to the rest of what I have to say. And if what I'm saying resonates with you, I invite you to book a free chat with me. And all you have to do is go to Time with Joe and timewithjoe.com, and being totally transparent, which is what I am. My objective is to connect with as many of you as possible. I want my message to be heard, and I want it to resonate with you. And if it does, reach out to me, and I'd be glad to explain to you or give you some of the ideas and the success stories, the things that I have been able to implement, not only for myself, but for clients, that help them create a business that actually generated revenue. Okay? Business is not what I thought it was, to be perfectly honest with you. I got a 4-year degree in accounting. I spent 10 years in working for CPA firms, some of them pretty large. And my concept of what it took to run a successful business was upside down. It was upside down because the truth is that the people that CPA firms usually work with are the people that have already run the gamut, the gauntlet, I should say. They've already passed that point where they've proven that they could stay the course, and they've overcome all of the beginning obstacles. They've pretty much figured it out. If you could stay in business for 5 years or more, you deserve a pat on the back. Okay. The other end of the spectrum is the fact that most businesses, even the ones that survive and stay small, rarely turn substantial profits. And that is a tragedy to me. You know, I didn't get into business just to survive. I didn't get into business just to pay my bills. I got into business because I wanted more. I wanted more for myself. I wanted more for my family. I wanted to be able to do things. And for years, I have seen good people working hard and struggling just to survive. And that was not my idea of running a good business. So what stops people from getting to that point? What is the difference between somebody that could take any business or any organization and put it on its feet, and the guy that just goes into business and fails and fails and just spends money, or the businesses that just barely survive? You know, if you're in business for a while, you have some tenacity. Okay. And tenacity sometimes can be a bad thing, because I can't tell you how many business owners I have had to advise to close their doors and get a job. Because if you're in business for 7 years and it's your sole source of income, and you're still only netting $30,000 a year, I'm sorry, but it's time to close the doors. You do not have a business model. You can make more money as a cashier at Starbucks and probably get benefits. Okay, so just staying in business and surviving is not my idea of success. And some business owners are just stubborn and they lack humility because they don't want to look like a failure. But sometimes failing is a good thing. What I heard is you want to fail and fail fast. Now, failing does not mean that you're a failure. Failing just means that you tried it this way and it didn't work, so you're going to tweak it a little and you're going to go on. And those are the people that succeed. But what I want to talk about are the people that seem to be able to put together an organization, a business that runs smoothly. Like my client, one of my first clients when I started, Joe's Foreign Car Service. The guy was in business for a long, long time. He was open Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And on Saturday, he closed at 1 p.m. And he knew when he went to work, he had his employees, they all had their jobs to do. The customers came in on a regular basis, and that guy made money. And I know that he made money. He put 5 sons through college, and that's not cheap. The guy was an auto mechanic, but he was a good businessman. What made him a good businessman? Well, I can tell you in a nutshell, it was his organization skills. And that's what usually takes a regular Joe, a guy that just wants to go into business, and a guy that can go into business and actually make something of it. It's simple organization skills. Now, you might be saying, well, I'm not organized. If you were organized, maybe you would be a professional organizer, or you'd be a bookkeeper or an accountant, and that's fine. You don't have to be organized, but what you have to do is that you have to organize your business. You don't have to be the file clerk, but your files have to be in order. You don't have to be the accountant or the bookkeeper, but your books have to be in order. And so what I'm going to share with you tonight are some of the frameworks, the templates that have to be part of any business. That I don't care if it's a candy store or if it's IBM. Each one of those businesses that are successful, and when I say successful, let's define success. Because you could have a part-time business and be very successful. Okay? Success is not measured just by money. The way to measure success is to look at what are you putting into this and what are you getting out of it. If you're getting out of it more than what you're putting in, that's a success. Okay? If you're putting 10 hours a week into a business and you're making, let's say, $500 net, for a lot of people, that's a pretty damn good part-time business. If you're in network marketing, let's say, and you're spending more than what you're earning, that is not a good business. So what makes the good network marketers successful, and most network marketers wind up spending more money than what they're making. And I'm not picking on the network marketing industry. I'm actually in a network marketing company now, not because I like network marketing, because there is a product that fits with my marketing system. Okay? It is perfect. I don't have to do it as a business, but to not do it as a business was just stupid, because it's such a good product, and I believe everybody should use it, that I'm making it a part of my business. It's a part of my business. It's a nut in the whole machine. And that's what I like to look at a business as. It's a machine. It should be a money magnet machine. So what sets that network marketer apart, the people that make, 100, 200,000 a year, and it doesn't matter which business they're in, they could do, if it's network marketing, they're doing good. If it's Melaleuca, if it's Primerica, they just always seem to do good. And the other people that just don't seem to get in the black. It's a simple word, folks. Organization. Organization. Last night I started doing, I actually did a Facebook Live, and I was so unhappy with it that I deleted it because I really didn't get to the point of what I wanted to get to. Now, to create an organized business, you do not have to be organized, if that makes any sense. You do not have to be organized in your own space. Okay, you could be the most disorganized person in the world, but if you put the pieces in place for your business model, that you have a regular routine, just like Joe's Foreign Car Service did. They had a regular routine. They knew what they were doing. Okay, and if you looked in Joe's desk, it was a freaking mess. It was a mess. He didn't care about his desk and all his paperwork. Okay, he was organized in the areas that he needed to be organized in. He had his accountant, me, worry about all the paperwork. Okay, he knew enough about balancing the checkbook to hand that over to me because he couldn't balance a checkbook. But he had enough humility to say, you know what, this is your job. You do it. Just tell me how much money I have in the bank so I don't spend more money than I make. And that's what I'm talking about, being organized. So let's start with the beginning, which I love to start at the beginning because, you know, you can't start in the middle. And the beginning of every business starts with an idea, okay, and then that person takes action. And sometimes that action results in somebody paying them for something, either a product or a service. Without that, if you just have an idea, you don't have a business. If you have an idea and you take action and you spend money and you don't have revenue, you don't have a business. All you have is losses, which is what a lot of people have. They just spend money. And believe you me, when I tell you, I have seen people been in business for 5, 6, 7 years, and I'm looking at their tax returns, and all they ever did was lose money. And I tell those people, listen, you don't have a business. And people don't want to hear that. They do not want to hear that. But that's the truth. I just turned down a client. I got a new client. I reviewed her tax returns, and for the last 2 years, she lost money. And the way that she did her accountant did her return was she was a prime target to get audited. And then she told me that going back was that she never made money. And she was spending 30, 40, 60, 70,000 a year in this business. So I did not take her on as a client because I said, you do not have a business and I'm not going to work with you. I'm not going to prepare your returns that way because you are going to get yourself into trouble. You don't have a business. You have a hobby and you can't write off those expenses. So what was it about her and her inability to create a business? Well, she missed the first let's say test that, okay, you have an idea, you create a product or service, you get somebody to pay you for it, but now that money has to be more than what you're spending. Otherwise, you do not have a business. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that. But a lot of people stay in business or try to stay in business with that simple formula. They overlook that simple formula that it's okay to start a business. And most of the time people start a business and have expenses before there's any revenue. And sometimes it can go on for 1.5 years, 2 years. If it's going on for more than 2 years, you have a problem. And the reason why she did not look at that was she did not actually have an accountant to organize her numbers and do an accounting on a regular basis to say, there's a problem here. You know, Houston, we have a problem. You keep, putting expenses on your credit cards. You're borrowing money from your husband, and there's zilch for revenue. I mean, there were some years where there was literally zero. So it takes some kind of organization to be able to look at those numbers. And if you're not organized enough to even look at the numbers, then you should not be in business, because you are a prime candidate to fail. Okay? And when I take on a client, I make a pledge to every client, and that is to do everything in my power to help them not only become profitable, but to have positive cash flow. And that takes organization. So let's go back to the steps, because this is important. Business is tough because there's a lot of moving parts, and they keep changing. As an accountant, I could tell you every time they change a tax law, and they change it all the time, it means something else needs a little bit of an adjustment. Okay, and you need to be on top of that. Not you as the business owner, but your accountant and your bookkeeper. So the first step in organizing your business is to make sure that you have some kind of bookkeeping system, some kind of way to account for your transactions. And too many people just run their business out of their checkbook, not paying attention to the numbers, and that's what causes business failure. You cannot run a business with your head in the sand. So the first thing you have to do, and I keep saying the first thing, but there's a lot of first things. The truth is that when you start a business, there's 1,000 things you got to do, and they all got to be done first. And that's part of the problem. That causes the complications, the confusion. You know, if you open up, I spoke to a new client this morning. She's opening up a gift store. Okay. Well, it's not that simple, because now we got to talk about sales tax. Well, she's got to first we got to incorporate her, then we got to register for sales tax. Then she's going to sell some things pretty much wholesale, and then she's going to have online retail sales. And this all has to be done. All those registrations have to be done before she starts doing business. Now, what happens is a lot of people skip over all of those steps and just start doing business. That is not an organized business, okay? You can't do your registrations after the fact, which is what happens most of the time. Most of the time I get a new client and they've already been doing business. They figure out how to charge people, how to take credit cards. And that, my friend, is a formula for failure. So if you're going to be in business, you can either be an amateur or you can be a professional in business. And if you're going to be in business, and I hope that you want to be professional about it and put some thought into it, you have to be cognizant of the fact that there are steps that have to be taken. And some steps go before the other ones. Okay, so now that's the overview. You have to be organized. And in my opinion, working with thousands of businesses over 35 years, running my own businesses and failing plenty of times, more than I like to admit. And every time I can look back and I could say, you know what? If I paid more attention, if I had more knowledge about marketing, and I knew how to organize my marketing system, maybe I could have avoided some of those losses. Maybe if I approached it as a professional, I wouldn't even gone into the stupid jewelry making business. Yeah, what did I know about jewelry? Nothing. Okay, my sister was making this cool jewelry. She was baking it, and she didn't want to do it as a business, but I had friends in the jewelry business that said it was pretty cool, the stuff she was making. And I spent probably $100 in a couple of weeks, a couple of $100 in a couple of weeks trying to bake my own jewelry. That was insane. Thinking about it now, I'm laughing, and I actually got one of my friends he was going to go partners with me. He was a jewelry salesman. Okay, that was insane. And I'm guilty of that. I was guilty of that. So, my disorganization had to do with the marketing end of business. I did not have a system. Okay. So if you want to go in business, if you're in business and you want to be professional about it, you need to look at how you're organized, which takes me to the criminal aspect of having 25 million sole proprietors. It is absolutely the worst way to do business. And that tells me that there are 25 million people out there setting themselves up for failure. And I don't want to go into the whole thing about why being a sole proprietor is bad. That's for, I've talked about that before. I'll talk about it more. I'm going to be doing a whole webinar soon on it. And I'd like to remind you, if any of this makes sense to you, if you're feeling overwhelmed and you need to put some sense of semblance into your business, I'm the guy you want to talk to. And you can reach out to me by going to timewithjoe.com. I will, if the time is not working for you, just email me at joe@bedrockbusinessbuilders.com and I will make the time work. Okay, so I want to share my screen with you for a couple of other things. So the legal structure is the first, not the first, everything's first, but the way you do business, you have to be organized appropriately. And being a sole proprietor, 99% of the time is not the best way to do business. Okay? Contact me if you want to talk about how, what the best way to do business is as far as a legal structure. The accounting end of it, I want to share what I call my basic chart of accounts. And, I'm going to bore you with accounting stuff now because you do not have to be an accountant or a bookkeeper, but you do need to, there we go, and I hope you can see this, you do need to know and understand your basic financial reports. And those reports are organized in a system that we accountants and bookkeepers call a chart of accounts. Okay, so now as an accountant running my business, and no offense to the accountants out there, but I've seen some accountants are the worst business people I've ever seen in my life. Because what I'm going to show you here is what helped me make my business different from a lot of other accountants. And it was this chart of accounts, which I call it my basic chart of accounts. And every one of my clients has the same chart of accounts. And I'm going to scroll up here. Now, if you want this, I'll be glad to share it with you. All you're going to do is book the time with me and I'll email you a copy of this. It's not copyrighted or anything. But now, if you look at this, it's in numerical order. If you have QuickBooks, which is what we use this one for, but it's also in alphabetical order. And the reason for that is at the end of the year, when I do somebody's tax returns, I know everybody has the same chart of accounts, and it makes it easy to teach somebody how to do a tax return. So now that this organization helped me lower the cost of doing the work. Having a simple chart of accounts in my accounting business streamlined my process. Okay, and I pass those savings on to my clients. So it wasn't that I was cheaper than other accountants. I was actually better than most accountants. And I'm not just saying that, but the fact is that I knew how to run my business. And a lot of accountants don't. Because in accounting firms, you know, I've been at some pretty big accounting firms. You know, if we had 300 clients, they had 300 different charts of accounts. And that made no sense to me at all. So this simple principle, this simple organizational rule, you can apply to your business. Now, I'm not saying that you need a chart of accounts. That's something that your accountant should have. But people, you cannot run your business with your head in the sand. If you're not asking your accountant for this information, if your accountant is not going over your financial reports with you, you need to consider getting another accountant. I'm sorry, but that's the fact. Your numbers are the result of everything you did in your business. And those numbers have to be organized in a fashion that you can understand them. Okay, and if you don't understand them, you need to take a lesson in them. You don't have to know how to do bookkeeping or accounting, but you need to know how to look at a financial report. And if you don't, you're at the mercy of an accountant and you don't know if they're doing a good job or a bad job. Okay? So that is a basic chart of accounts. So, and the chart of accounts is the backbone of your accounting business. Now, what does this have to do with creating a money-making magnet? It has everything to do with it. Everything. Because it's in the disorganization where businesses fail. It's the lack of organization that causes new small businesses to fail. So I don't care if you're opening up a candy store, a gas station, or a trucking company. You need to have a standard chart of accounts, and if you have an accountant now, you should ask him, can I see my chart of accounts? And if they can't produce something that looks like this, you need to book some time with me, and you need to get organized. Okay? The other thing that I'd like to share with you here is, let me see if I can. Okay, there I am. You know, remove that. And now, no, okay. Stop screen sharing. Okay, now I'm going to screen share again. And I'm going to show you another aspect of how I organize stuff. And it's not that, it's going to be, okay. Sorry about the lack of technical skills here, but it is what it is. Okay, here we go. So now this is another thing that most businesses do not have. Now you could see this, it's a simple file system, and it represents what used to be a paper file system. But what's happened, folks, is everything's gone paper and electronic, paper and electronic. And if you're getting a receipt in an email and you think that you have the receipt saved, think again, because those receipts, those documents are what the IRS and every other state and local government likes to call books and records. And those are the documents that they're going to want to ask, that they're going to want to see if you ever get audited. Okay, and if you're a sole proprietor, the chances of getting audited are like 1,000 times more than if you're a corporation. But there's another reason to have them organized. And it's not about if you get audited, because the truth is that most businesses never get audited. Okay, some of them that should get audited don't, but it's not a game that you want to play. And again, that's one of the things that sets apart the professional business owner from the amateur. Okay, so what happened? Now everything, 80% of the stuff that comes in is electronic. So, and if you buy something from, let's say, PayPal or Amazon, you might be getting 2 different confirmations or 3. Which one do you save? These are questions that I get. More importantly, where do you save them? Where do you save them? Because just like a paper file system that you have a cabinet for, now you need an electronic file system. And this is my version of an electronic file system. And it's broken down into the categories that I think are important. So I have a category for bank statements, a category for customers, fixed assets, insurance, loans and leases, payroll is important. Permanent file would be anything like your certificate of incorporation, any kind of legal documents, I guess, anything that would be permanent. Okay. Obviously, your taxes and your vendor file. Now, in these folders, let me just show you what I have here for vendors. Now, I have subfolders for the different years. And then inside those vendor folders, I have them alphabetized. Now, when I save a receipt, depending on if it comes from email, if it's coming through my Dropbox, if it's coming through the mail, any way I get it, it's going into the system. It's a centralized system where I can find anything in a few seconds. And that is called organization. And that, my friend, is the difference. Not necessarily the difference, but it's the mentality of what separates the people that fail at business from the people that succeed. It's a simple concept of knowing that you need to know where stuff is. Okay? You need to know how your business is organized legally. Okay? If you're just in business and you don't even know if you're an LLC or a corporation, you should think twice about being in business. You should really think twice about it. My responsibility as an accountant is not to just crunch the numbers, people. That's what most accountants do. They just crunch numbers. As a business advisor, my chief responsibility is to educate my clients. And if your accountant is not educating you about what's going on in your business and helping you move forward, I invite you to book a free chat with me. Go to timewithjoe.com. That's all I have. I'll show you a couple of other neat little things I have in here, and things like the loans and leases. I actually have an amortization schedule where, so if you get a loan, you can actually see. That's not working here. But anyway, each one of these folders has a corresponding schedule. There's a fixed asset schedule. But the idea, folks, is that you need to be organized. Richard Branson has 400 plus businesses. I guarantee you every one of them have a similar organizational structure. Anybody that's successful, you'll hear this term, they know their numbers. How do they know their numbers? Because they're organized. Okay? Once you get your business organized, Then you could start relaxing. Actually, you can never relax if you have a business. But once you are organized, you have a shot at creating a money magnet. Okay. Some people like Richard Branson get so organized that their businesses run on autopilot. How does a guy have 400 businesses? He is highly, highly organized. Now, I hope that some of this resonates with you. Hopefully, I taught you something tonight. You don't have to become Richard Branson or Steve Jobs. But if you're in business, you need to generate revenue and you need to generate positive cash flow. If you don't know what that is, book a free chat with me, timewithjoe.com. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. And I will see you again tomorrow night. Same bad time, same bad channel. God bless. Have a good night.